Alright, so the most annoying thing about this game to me at first, as with all these types of games, is having a bunch of junk in my inventory. And particularly with this game, you're going to want your items sorted. So that meant dropping each item from my inventory into an appropriate container. So one of the first things I did was build a smart filtering system. So this is my storage. I built them like this so I can look at two different chests at once. And then in the middle, I have my trash bin or my smart storage system, whatever. You can drop anything into here and it'll get filtered to the appropriate line on my storage distribution system. My smart filtering system is slightly based on that, but it can be modified and adapted to any kind of system because the mechanics are still applicable. So when I dropped those items in there, they went to this belt, which goes to a lifter. It's going to take it to the top because in the middle of all of this is my buffer storage. When I overproduce an item, that I might need someday later, so I want to keep producing it, it can accumulate up to however many chests high that is. And I used the first chest I had available, so I didn't have industrial chests at the time. But for the top of the storage system, you do need, I highly recommend anyways, industrial chests. And I'll show you why. So those items come up from that trash chest and they go to the top here, and then they begin getting filtered by these smart filters. Settings are any undefined, it won't let any plates past, and then overflow. Because it won't let any plates pass, this will jam since it's on any undefined without an overflow. So as this was listed, here's your items. Keep it very straightforward. Items coming in, hit here. To the left goes the place into my storage system, which loops all the way back down to my, we'll cover that later if needed. And to the right goes my overflow. And straight, each item goes until they have all been filtered. This just gets in the way right now. It's because I built this near the start of the game, so I didn't know how things worked at first. Over here, it's much cleaner. This is how the system works, fully built. Alright, so items go down the line to be filtered. Left is overflow here, and right is into storage. I'm full of beams. Alright, at the end, you will have items that were not filtered. And then the overflow items. So these are the items that make it through all the filters. At the end, I really understood how I wanted this. You can walk under these because I do need to read and adjust these sometimes. So anyways, these are the items that were unfiltered. And this is the accumulation of all my overflows. All my overflows and unfiltered items combined into one belt. And that goes into my temporary trash bin. So I never did let it accumulate in here, but you can let it accumulate in here and see what you're full of or whatever. There's better ways to do it. But anyways, what I did for the longest time was I just connected my trash back to my smart filtering storage system. That way it infinitely looped every item until they were all filtered out, because that smart filtering system will eventually squeeze an item onto the line every now and then. And when it does that, that spot is no longer open for an item to be being produced to join the line. So it will restrict my production until eventually all the items in my filter just go away. So to be less stress on my graphics card and my processor and everything, I stopped doing that a little while ago. And instead, because I have all the items I could ever need, I was trying to clean my mouse button and it got stuck or something. Anyways, I have all the items I'll ever need, so I just run them into a sink now to tokens that I also don't need. So anyways, towards the end, I didn't want to do the smart filtering system for every item at first. So when I went out into the world, I would just visit these 1 or 2 chests, and I drop off my ammo, my gas mask, and all that. But when you get the programmable filters, you can literally just set these things to filter out every item in the game. And so I have all that stuff that I used to visit these chests to drop off first. Now I just drop literally everything into the center, except for Mercer spheres and the Sam ore and other things that I guess they haven't fully defined and figured out or whatever yet. So anyways, I can just drop leaves, I can drop a chainsaw, I can drop gas mask, everything. Everything can be dropped in here and it'll get filtered except for those rare items, whatever. So anyways, this fully dynamic system I have, because this is a loop. And so every item just infinitely loops. And initially, every item was infinitely pulled off on the other side. Every item was infinitely pulled off the production line and then infinitely put back onto the production line right here. And so so I cut all these belts to make my game, because my game, I built this full dynamic system at first to just kind of like find out how much this game, the programming and my computer could maintain at once. And I had millions of items in circulation just constantly, and there was no problem whatsoever until I got these belts, and that only led to a visual error on the belts themselves. They just look a little weird sometimes. Yes, they just look weird. But that still didn't lag. The lag came when I got class floors in combination with the fastest speed belts. So when that happened, I didn't want my frames dropping, so I cut off the infinite loop through my storage, because there was no point for it. It was just being silly, trying to max out my computer or whatever. So that was unneeded, so I cut all of those off. So anyways, now it's not a fully dynamic system, but it is very largely, primarily a dynamic system, because there's constantly these items in infinite loop. But anyways, that's very burdensome on your graphics and processor and whatever. So, and it's unnecessary. It's also more difficult for very minimal gains. So the better way to do it is actually a horseshoe. I guess that was needed. I built a little demo area. For some reason I didn't put a way to get there. So anyways, if this is all your inputs, so you build this horseshoe system and you can extend it to infinity to cover every item upwards. Then you can extend it to infinity, assuming you build in the sky, for as long as you would need, any reasonable length, to have more surface area access points for each item on the line. With that surface area and number of items, you can now build production elements in the middle, and you face all their outputs to the inside. All resources are brought in here, and all resources produced are added to this side. And then, because you got everything covered, you can change these. You could set these to produce anything, and then you would just delete the lifter that you build from the machine, not from the belts, because you want this space free. This was built at the start of the game, pretty much, so like I didn't know how much those were going to be in the way. I would do so many things different now. I'm trying to help you with that. So you build from this machine and then just put it whatever height you want the item. You can tell what the item is by clicking F and trying to sell it, and even if I couldn't see what those were, I can just try to sell that line and tell what height each items are. It's a little easier when you're closer, but anyway, so you just find out what height it is, and then you build this thing to that height. You plug it in, you set your recipe, and then you hook it up to the appropriate belt height there. So you can just have a whole line of these things, and you can potentially even do another floor. Make this wider. This was a demo. You won't always give yourself tons of extra space. 4 times as much space as you think you need, and it might be enough. But anyways, and so externally or internally to this line, you put your storage. Since you can build to infinity, I would actually put the storage in the middle. at the very, yeah, just put the storage in the bottom loop because you're always going to extend further and further that way. But you want to be able to access your storage easily. So yeah, if the horseshoe's big enough, you can just like walk. You can have a little tube that goes under your. I always build my belts where I can walk under them. So I guess it's not a problem. So you can determine if you want to build this internally or externally to your horseshoe. There's benefits and costs to either one. It's way easier to build on the inside because then so every now and then you might need a lot of items out of your storage on the production line. Like you've accrued a lot of items, but suddenly you find yourself needing them. My circular thing over there, it'll automatically just put them on the line. If you're doing this horseshoe thing, the static thing, you need to reconnect your storage to your input side potentially someday down the road. And so if you build this in the middle, that's very easy to do. If you build it on the outside, you're going to have to loop over, or more likely you're going to go under it to connect to that the input side. But anyways, going back to one last overview in a simpler format for the sorting system. The top depth chest is an industrial storage container. You have your inputs from, and you can make this as tall as you want to store as many items you want. Input from the line goes in the bottom, and input from the smart filter. So this is the items coming in to be sorted. They hit the filter. This setup right here will send it to the left, whatever item is being filtered, and the overflow will be to the right. I would reconnect until your computer starts having issues. I would reconnect your overflow to your input, and so it'll loop and filter infinitely until they all go away. And then to get this height, build conveyor poles from the floor and make sure you leave height enough to walk under this. And then if you have any other weird stuff that goes over this, leave height to walk on top of these smart filters so that you can change them and read their sequence as you wish. And that covers the sorting system. Another thing that I don't know why, I've seen a lot of YouTube tutorials now trying to figure things out that weren't intuitive. One thing I never ran into was somebody explaining this. I see them on Blade Runners all the time. Look how easy, well, when you're not missing, how am I, literally I'm missing rods, wow. Let's just do this, purpose has been served. So anyways, normally this is very easy. You just drop this, jump on it, and zoom. You can fly. Way faster than boots, faster than hypertube, unless you know exactly where you're going and you already built one up. That's radiation. So this is the fastest mode of transport. If you have a path that you're going to do often, you put what I just did there, and then you put a hypertube. So you would just do something like this, and you just lead it. So this hypertube's from the old days. Wait, what? Why? Why are you doing that? So you don't build them right on the floor. But anyways, you would build it so you jump into your hypertube, and so you maintain your momentum from the launch, and then it gets added to your hypertube momentum and lets you go really, really. I guess I can show you. So this is the end of the tutorial. I like seeing people's factories, and I might throw some tips out here. But for the most part, that should cover. I think I covered everything. But anyways, the hypertube in combination with the platform is pretty nice. You go really fast, and you'll never use Blade Runners again. Very, very fast. I don't want to go this way yet. So that goes down to my power plant. I have infinite energy because I found like 6 pure oil deposits, and then I built a ton of power generators. I fooled with nuclear power. Didn't like it. Leaves radioactive stuff everywhere you gotta deal with, and you gotta process uranium. And then when the purpose of it is power, and so if you have infinite power with 0 maintenance, I built this factory way down there, and I never have to visit it. I visit it because I want to sometimes, but I never need to. So anyways, I have all the power I could ever use. I like to see people's power grid. This is my power grid when it's fully running. This doubles to 12,000. I'm full of a bunch of items. My power grid can be overclocked a lot more. I can also, like I said, produce 8 times more with very minimal effort. I could make my power grid 8 times stronger in probably 30 minutes. So I really do have infinite power. No need to stress it. But anyways, I found myself needing tons of plastic and rubber. So I just erased my entire basement and built a ton of plastic and rubber refineries. So all my refineries are in the basement, so I don't have to pump the water, don't have to pump the fuel. I'm just now getting full plastic and rubber. I need it that much because I built it. I've explored the world and found, like, I think probably I may have missed like one crash site in the whole world. And so I have all the alternate formulas, and once I got the alternate formulas, I knew better how I wanted my base laid out. So I got all my plastic stuff. But anyways, all my simple production is built in a middle layer in my floor. My basement's refineries and stuff. All my core basic components are produced in the middle. That's all my smelters. All my complex parts are built up here. This is all motors. I needed a bunch of motors at one point, so I built an entire line to build. This is the messiest thing in my base. It's because I built it thinking temporary, but I just left it because I don't need it to look pretty. And it was overproducing some of the components to make the motor, so I just reattached that into my system. And that's my plastic and rubber coming up. It's got an auto filtering system, so I can swap any of my factories to produce the one I need, and I don't have to change anything. So if I need a lot more plastic than I need rubber, I could change all my rubber ones to plastic. But anyways, I just re-tapped into this and put those. Oh yeah, you don't charge while you're on the ladder. And this is all the complex production. That's more middle floor basic components. That's most of my materials coming in. I mean, I really do think my distribution and storage system is like the coolest thing. And I think I've covered that, so hope you enjoyed, hoped it helped. It's definitely worth your time. It's also fun. I enjoyed building this. It doesn't need to be quite this long. I have spots. A lot of these chests at the end are from new materials that I might find. And then you just make sure you just build the storage system. I highly recommend building it where you can look at 2 boxes at once, and put a little lip on it so that you can see what items in the bin. Alright, I think that covers it. Thanks for watching.